Hey folks, I'm Captain Daddy of Captain Daddy's Creations. Today we're going to be engraving a wine bottle and learning one way of transferring a design when the glass isn't transparent. Stick around to the end for some bonus tips on keeping things legal and legit. Please click like, share, subscribe. You don't want to miss an exciting upcoming episode. Wait, that's not my theme music. Where's my theme music at? Hey folks, Captain Daddy here of Captain Daddy's Creations. We're a division of Raven Arts and Graphics. I often get asked about engraving items that aren't transparent. Typically, in earlier episodes, we discussed putting our image behind a glass and engraving over it, following our lines. But how do we do it on something that's not transparent? Done a lot of metal items, insulated mugs, axe heads. Today we're doing a wine bottle, not just a wine bottle, but a bottle of wine. Imagine that. I start by soaking the bottle in warm soapy water, usually about an hour or so, get the labels off. Sometimes, like this particular bottle, has a piece of foil label on it that takes a little bit of acetone to get the adhesive off. You get it off, but then there's this little sticky, hard to get, but acetone, nail polish remover, gets it right off. I then tape the bottle off, leaving my section plenty of room to put my engraved area, whatever design I'm using. I clean it with alcohol, let it dry, then put a thin coat of paint, a light colored paint. It doesn't have to be paint designed specifically for glass because it's not going to be on here very long. This is simply to hold our image, to transfer our image so that we can see. I laid out the lettering that I wanted, the lettering style, the size, the position. I measured everything, make sure it's going to fit. Printed it out, then I kind of drew in a little floral pattern to kind of make it pop some. I then took the image that I printed out, or the images, I'm doing something on both sides. I turned it over, put it on a light box, and traced very carefully the image from the back with a soft charcoal pencil. The soft charcoal adheres very easily to that light colored surface. We then turn it over, tape it in place. Be careful to make sure it's aligned correctly. It's very easy to accidentally, you're not paying attention, you get it a little bit out of square, and it's aggravating when you get finished with the job and step back and look at it and realize, oh no, I got to start this over. Make sure you cut your edges straight. I recommend a paper cutter. Not that much money, and it's a big help. You don't want to put a whole sheet of paper on here and try to wrap it around. But you tape this in place. Be very careful to go over the entire thing with a ballpoint pen. It's harder than the charcoal, so it presses the charcoal onto the image. Oftentimes I'll use a different color other than black to kind of help me see somewhat where I've gone, what I've marked and what I haven't, because you want to make sure and mark everything. You pull this off completely and realize, oh no, I left something off. It's incredibly hard, almost impossible, to get it lined back up and taped back in place again. If you have some artistic skills, if you leave part of a letter off or whatever, you can draw it in by hand, but it's still a pain, especially when you're doing like a very complex. This is simple, but a very complex piece, that can be a deal breaker. You'll have to wipe it all off and start over. After we tape this in place and mark our lines to transfer it, remove it, everything's there, everything looks great, go ahead and engrave your line work. using a small straight bit as we had discussed before. Lightly do your line work before you turn it over and transfer the other image. Oftentimes the charcoal wipes off really easily. So if you do one side and do the other side, then turn it over and start engraving, you may turn it back over and realize half of your stuff on that side's missing. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a pain in the butt. Okay, so we're going to get started. Okay, I've taped my pattern into place. Try to make sure it was aligned correctly. Now I'm going to take a pink pen and go over my lines, a little bit of pressure, and go over every part of the pattern. As I mentioned in an earlier video, you can see how my hands shake. I've got this trimmer that I was born with, unfortunately. So, as I said before, if my shaky hands can do it, your hands can do it. I don't want to hear any excuses. This is actually not as hard as you think it is. Main thing at this point, make sure you have everything covered. Make sure you go over every line. Now, I'm going to speed this video up so you don't have to go through the boredom of watching me mark every line. Okay, I believe I have it all covered. I'm going to do an episode later on just on lettering, the different styles of lettering, the choices on what style lettering works best for what item, mixing and matching lettering on the same items to really make it pop. Things you have to be careful of, like, you know, if you put the forget to put the cross piece here on the letter A, take it off and that's missing, that means you're missing your A-hole. And you've got to be careful with your A-hole, not to mention your P-hole, your D-hole. And what's that spot, open spot in a G? What do they call that? G? Never mind, you get the idea. So we've got it on here. Let's see what we're working with. Okay. As you can see here, the design has been transferred. The top of the A is not quite there, but that'll be easy enough to fix. Now, something you have to be careful with, again, touching that charcoal, it comes off pretty easily. A lot of times what I'll do when I get to this point, I'll take a fine tip Sharpie and carefully go over my lines with the Sharpie so that they're a little bit more permanent while I'm working on it. It doesn't wear off. If you don't go over it in a Sharpie, you are going to have to be very careful to start in an area where your hand isn't touching. If I start here and my hand rubs this off, I've got problems then. And often the same way with doing tattoo patterns, whenever you transfer a tattoo, it's you have to work around the item and work toward the inside so you don't wipe your pattern off. So, moving right along, let's see if we can touch this up a little bit. Okay, I've redefined the lines with a fine point Sharpie, try to keep them from rubbing off, which actually this type of paint, the charcoal seems to adhere pretty well to it, but I wanted to make sure my lines were filled out. I like to have something that I can put under my hand to hold it up to the height of the bottle. Sometimes I'll use this, different positions. I'll hold it down and prop it against the edge of the, always keep something soft under here, by the way. But to prop my hand against and move it to get in the best position, I've gone ahead and loaded the fine point straight bit to do our line work. I'm going to go ahead and do the line work on this side. I'm not going to worry about the detailing yet. Once I get the lines done, I'll flip it over, do the image on the other side that we have right here. Happy 4th anniversary. Once we get both sides done, I'll go ahead and take the paint off so we can get a clear view of what we're working with and to fine tune it and fill in the areas that need to be fleshed out. So let's get started. Okay, got the line work done on this side, and I can tell you already, once we take the paint off, these lines are going to be a little crooked, a little broken here and there, but this is just, again, the rough outline. We start flushing it out, filling it in, we can take care of all those little issues. So for now, I'm going to flip it over, apply the pattern to the other side, get the line work knocked out on it, and speed things up a little bit, and then we'll take the paint off and see what we're working with. So I've repeated the transfer process on the opposite side. I removed the tape, used acetone to remove the paint. It's coming out looking pretty good. As you can see, the lines are kind of rough, kind of scratchy, but that's normal. It's just doing a rough guideline of getting things in place. Now I will take the small bit and do some touch up, some finish work, smooth it out, switch to a small ball, fill out what I need to, and it should come out looking pretty nice. Let's get started. Okay folks, we're done with the wine bottle, but there was a slight issue, which is good because it gives me a chance to make you aware of it. Sometimes these bargain priced bits aren't a bargain. It chipped the glass a little. It didn't crack or anything, but it made some chips and kind of made some really rough lines. In fact, some of the bits wouldn't even cut the glass. So be careful with the bargain price bits. Most of them I've bought over the years seem to work really well, but these are another issue. Go ahead and hit the like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for just a minute. I've got a few more things I want to mention to you, tools that will speed up your game and up the quality of your work, and discuss legal issues. Yes, legal issues. There's a couple more issues I'd like to discuss. Wine bottles, the liquor bottles, have been hugely popular over the years. Everybody loves them. The fact that they are personalized and everything, you know, just they're big sellers. But if someone comes to you and tells you, I want a bottle of Moscato with this design on it, these names, this date, you pick the bottle up and do your work, comes out looking fantastic. They reimburse you for the liquor and pay you for the beautiful work you've done, and you just sold alcohol without a license. Now, I don't want to sound like that guy, but I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on and that you're covered. Have the customer pay for, buy the alcohol, the liquor, the wine, champagne, whatever, and bring it to you or give it to you. It's highly unlikely that there will be an issue, but you never know. People can be petty. So make sure you're covered with that. Also, I'm going to make an in-depth episode soon that'll be devoted to tools and equipment, but for now I'd like to mention a couple items that will make things a lot easier and really help up your game. A light box tracer. As everything else, I'm going to have links in the description where to buy these. They're inexpensive, but for drawing your design, changes you need to make, it makes it so much easier to put it on a light box, go over what you've done, and then turn it off and make the rest of your changes. Or the charcoal transfers, as we've done for the wine bottle. When you're applying the charcoal pencil to the back of the design with that lighted box, lighted tracer pad, it makes it so much easier to see the lines and, clearly go back over your work. The next item I'd like to discuss is a paper cutter. Yeah, you can take scissors and, you need to trim your design down to put it on your object to be engraved, like transferring with the charcoal. You can use scissors and just whack it off and, trim it down and put it in place. But trust me, it's a lot easier to align your work. Paying attention to that alignment really means a lot. And if you have just a uneven edge, throw it up there, it may appear to be straight, but you take it off and realize that it's just a little, and if you're like I am, you're very critical of your own work. You want it to be right. And for beautiful work to come out kind of funky because of a little bit of misalignment, trust me, the paper cutter is not expensive and it's handy to have. The third thing is a little bit more expensive, but it is an invaluable tool. Photoshop elements. Right now, I think on Amazon they're about $100. I think they're $99. It's a fantastic program. Don't be intimidated by it. Even if you've never used it, I can walk the viewers through the process of converting photographs to an easily etched design. Here's a couple of quick examples of what I'm talking about. So it's something you may want to look into investing in, and I'm going to do an upcoming episode soon on, as I said, tools and equipment, but I'm also going to go a little more in depth on Photoshop and the techniques I use. It's going to be a huge help. Thanks so much for joining me. I've had a good time. I love talking about it. I love teaching it. That's my sole reason for being here. Feel free to leave some comments if you have any questions. You can post them there or post them to CabinDaddy.com. I look forward to seeing you the next time. See ya. And hit that like, share, and subscribe button.